Boom. Alright, we're doing a replay analysis. Another one for Oscar Mike. We got Guile, Alex. I think I picked game 1. I hope I picked game 1. Alright, as usual, this will be on YouTube later, so don't worry if some information goes over your head. You'll be able to watch the archive as many times as you need to try to implement what we got going on here. Alright.
Round 1.
And as usual.
Fight.
Alright, you did good. Okay, boom. So this is a tricky matchup. It's a tricky matchup because it's kind of hard to get the first boom on screen. And that's really the challenge in a lot of Guile's matchups. It's hard to get the first boom on screen. It is Guile versus Grappler, so this is a matchup that is pretty inherently advantaged by Guile. But there are definitely a lot of variables that can mix things up and make it seem like a pretty chaotic, volatile matchup. Because it is. Guile is still favored though. But this stomp that's coming at you right now is one of the reasons why this matchup can be volatile. But Guile has answers to stuff like this. Remember, if we're getting harassed by big-ass normals like this, they can't do that if there's a boom on screen. So, don't get too discouraged if you're getting beaten up by normals, right? Nice! Good response. Now you're in. Cool, and now you can back off. One of the interesting things about this matchup that I'll just say sooner rather than later, because the stomp is, what people really get messed up by in this matchup. If Alex has down charge, Guile has down charge. Why is this true? Because if Alex has down charge, he's not walking, which means that Guile doesn't have to walk. Guile doesn't have to worry about Alex's normals while he's crouching. Unless you're like in range of, well, I'm not even going to say that. If Alex isn't moving, Guile isn't moving. Because whatever Alex can do while he's crouching, other than the stomps, is something that Guile can block just by holding down back, right? Except for overhead, but then Alex isn't crouching, is he? So boom! When Alex has down charge, Guile has down charge. That's the #1 reason why this matchup is difficult for Alex. So that's, you went for the whiff punishes, seems like. That's unfortunate. Boom, we weren't ready for it. That's okay. But here we go. When we see this, when we see both characters crouching, Guile's brain needs to be hyper focused on the stomp. There's so little else that we have to worry about in this situation. Yes, we're worried about dash ups. Yes, we're worried about stomps. That's it. You know what's really fun about being in this situation is that you're so hyper focused on flash kicking something at this point, is that if he dashes forward, you can just flash kick sometimes. It's not always like, that's not always going to be the case, but it's like this mental gear that you're in. You're in that flash kick gear where you go, when I see something, I'm going to flash kick, right? Not normals, but big movement. When you see big movement, it's likely a stomp, but it might be a dash. I have moments where I'm playing Guile in this matchup, and I'll be in this mode, and he dashes forward, and I can flash kick in time to actually punish the dash. It's not an optimal punish because, you can hit confirm into trigger if you want to and such, but when you're worried about one thing so much, and you're so ready to flash kick it, you can actually react fast enough to flash kick other things that you don't normally flash kick. So anyways, boom! He got the counter hit, which makes... Here, let's put inputs on. He got the counter hit, which makes me think that you did try to flash kick. Yes, you did. So he got the counter hit. That means he hit you within frame 1 or frame 2 of your startup, because that's when Guile is not invincible during light kick flash kick. It's likely that if you had used medium kick flash kick, it's 50% more likely that you would have gotten the proper anti-air. Why? Because medium kick flash kick is frame 1 frame 2. Yeah, frame 2 invincible to airborne opponents. I might look that up. It's either frame 1 invincible or frame 2 invincible to airborne opponents. Light kick flash kick is frame 3 invincible to everything. So medium kick flash kick isn't so good in other situations, but in terms of anti-airing, it is the best. EX flash kick will always be king. That's frame 1 invincible to everything. But in terms of meterlessly anti-airing, medium kick flash kick probably could have handled this. Alright, mix-up situations. Boom. In case you didn't know, because I didn't know this for a long time, after Alex dashes forward... Okay, so here's the deal right here. I'm not changing subjects. We're talking about the same thing. After non-EX Powerbomb and EX Powerbomb, Alex's options are dash up command grab, which is not a real mix-up. I'll go more into that. Or it's this light elbow, which is -2 on block, but it's also meaty, so it's probably a little better for Alex. I don't press buttons afterwards. You can test it for yourself. But basically, when you get power bombed, you need to be sitting there, and it's similar to the Laura matchup, but way easier to deal with. You're sitting there, Alex recovers from the power bomb, and you're going, okay, is he dashing forward, or is he doing the silly elbow, or maybe he's even going for a stomp or something, right? You need to be ready for those options, but here's the deal. The only true meaty timing that Alex has is this -2 elbow, right? So his options aren't amazing. So it looks like you actually went for... Yeah, you get scooped. Let's see what you went for. Oh, you were holding up. So you were worried about dash up command grab, I'm assuming, right? Maybe it was different. Just know that power bomb, dash up, power bomb is not a true mix-up. Alex doesn't get an actual real meaty timing in that situation. Powerbomb, dash forward is negative. You can get a guaranteed crouch jab if he goes for something like that. But powerbomb into light kick elbow, that is a true meaty, but he like can't even... He can't make you get hit by that elbow. You know what I'm saying? You can block, and you can react to the fact that he's dashing. So moving on. Forward Fierce is really hard to make use in this matchup. It's really hard to make use of Forward Fierce in this matchup because Guile's best normals, other than stand roundhouse, are crouching normals. His crouching strong, his crouching medium kick, his sweep, his down forward fierce is a lariat. It's a crouching move. All of his best normals are crouching normals. Forward Fierce is going to whiff most of the time that you're going to use it. So it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. And if we're going to do this type of, oh, the first hit whiffed, so you can't V-trigger cancel. That was unfortunate. Alright, so that round's a wash. But let's analyze when this round went to shit. You anti are just fine at first. It's okay that you didn't get anything off of that mix-up. It's not a guaranteed thing for us. Unfortunate sweep. This is when everything went to crap. Maybe if we used medium kick, flash kick, it would have worked out better, but now we have to deal with this mix-up. Now we're in the mix-up. Now, we've already taken a lot of damage at this point. But really, this shouldn't lead to anything more than this. Like, Alex's powerbomb in this situation is very similar to like an old school neutral throw. Back in the day when there weren't throw loops, right? You get thrown, and it tends to be the end of a character's pressure game. Back in the day, it's like, oh, I got thrown because he got in, he knew I was gonna block. Now I get rewarded for that fact, and then we return to neutral. It's not really, that's not a common case in Street Fighter V. There's a lot of throw loops in Street Fighter V. Alex doesn't have one. So this shouldn't have turned into more and more damage, but it did just because, you know, we were a little less familiar with Alex's pressure game. That's fine. Yeah, Oscar Mike, we're just gonna chug along. And I know things change per game. Like, people's like perspective of their opponent changes so on the fly. There's a reason why it's very common for game 1 and game 2 in like a 1-1 score setting for it to be very patient and methodical, and there's a reason why game 3 very commonly ends in 2 seconds, is because people's reads on each other dramatically shift, and sometimes that just creates a landslide. It's very common to see that in games with Snake Eyes back in Street Fighter 4. Okay, we gave up on neutral there. This situation is so Guile favored, it's crazy. When both players have down charge, Guile is in full control of the matchup, and we gave up on that. And that's okay, we just have to know. When we're, you know, Guile is a fortress character, right? When we're in a situation where we don't have a life deficit, where we have charge, Alex can't do crap if we have charge, like, other than walk forward and stuff, right? And once he walks forward, he doesn't have charge anymore, right? When Guile is in full control, every second that ticks on the clock is a point for Guile, right? This was more true back in the day when Guile was more of a keep away character, but it still holds weight in a game like this. When you don't have a life deficit, when you're in control of the matchup, every second on the timer is a point for Guile. And we kind of gave up on that with this jump. Yeah, that anti-air jab was always going to happen. Now we're like, a lot of the times, depending on the space that we get anti-air jabbed, we're going to deal with a mix-up. Alex could have walked forward and done something here. He decided to just lay a normal on you. It wasn't even in range. So you got off a little easier there. All right, returning to neutral. Let's see what happens. So once again, this is a concept that I go over a lot. And we are really cranking like every 2 seconds I'm pausing. So sorry if that's frustrating. But there's a lot of interesting details here. I already talked about Forward Fierce not being great in this matchup. It's actually not great in most matchups. I'm going to put that out there. So here, boom, we got anti-air, we're here. We're back to neutral. We're back to having full control. I like that we're booming instead of doing nothing. Boom, we have a boom. We're following it up with Forward Fierce. It's very unlikely to do anything for you. Most of Alex's good tools are crouching tools. He blocked it standing anyways. This is a habit that we get into a lot as a Guile player. We're afraid to throw a lot of booms because booms are, they're not easily, but their number one weakness is being jumped in on. So sometimes we'll throw a boom and we'll be like, hey, we're going to mix it up. I'm going to use normals instead. But then we end up using heavy normals, which are just like the number one counter to heavy normals is also getting jumped in on, right? So when we throw booms into heavies, we're representing a risk just as volatile as throwing boom after boom after boom, except boom actually does more for you in these situations. So be really careful about using heavies after booms because the risk reward is almost exactly the same as just throwing another boom. So boom, we got jumped in on. He went for, okay, yeah, this is definitely meaty. Okay. Boom, everything went to shit. What do we got here? Alright, before we get into that end round stuff, we threw booms into heavies. It's the same risk reward as throwing back-to-back booms, which is risky. We can throw back-to-back booms at like this space. Where well, okay, a little further than that because Alex's jump in roundhouse has a lot of range. But when we have space between us and our opponent, back-to-back booms, there's a lot more variables and there's a lot more that you can do to make those booms safe. When we're out of space like this, jump-ins are the number one reason that we lose immediately after throwing a boom. These heavies, jump-ins are the number one reason why we immediately lose after using these. We need to quick rise in this situation. His stun gun that he's using right now is supposed to threaten you if you quick rose. So it's nice that we didn't have to worry about that. But because we didn't quick rise, we still had to deal with this meaty situation. Instead, let's make sure that we quick rise. And if we see this stun gun, make sure that we neutral jump. Because that's ideal, right? We get a huge punish on his part. There's not a ton that he can do if we do that. But here we go. We got crush countered. It looked like you teched a normal throw. Boom. Instant stun. Now this is another knockdown we need to worry about. Where's the quick rise? In this situation, I don't think he gets true Oki. Maybe this is something I can look up. I actually need to research this situation myself. Does Alex get actual Oki off of his, what's it called, air raid? His knee, like, juggle anti-air thing. So let's look it up. What's that motion? I think it's like DP into kick or something like that. It's called air raid, right? Oh, air smash knee. So let's see. Which version of that did he use? Boom, boom, boom. What did he use? EX. So we go to our handy dandy frame data app. We go to EX smash knee. And it says quick rise advantage, back rise advantage, 23. Then we go to Alex's general stats. And we're going to compare his forward dash to 23. So his forward dash speed is 19. That means he is +4 after EX knee smash. So this is like a true meaty situation after quick rise. That's how we build our knowledge of a matchup right there. I didn't actually know that. I hadn't done that research for myself yet. EX, when he finishes this combo with EX, if we quick rise, boom, he is +4 if we quick rose, but we didn't. So he's mega plus. So what I was trying to say is that it's really important to know what situations we want to be quick rising in, because if we don't quick rise, we give our opponent a meaty situation, right? If we don't quick rise, they can walk up and meaty us. If we're doing that to someone like Birdie or Alex after like normal power bombs, we're giving them like a meaty situation that they weren't entitled to. If Alex lands power bomb, if he dashes forward, he's negative something. I can look it up and give you the specific number in a minute. But if we don't quick rise, he gets a true meaty, right? After EX knees, he gets a meaty situation either way. Okay. Oh, okay. Round's not over. What do we got? Okay. I like it. Oh, I like it. Nice. How is that bazooka knee? Let me judge your bazooka knee right here. Pretty good. I wouldn't follow up with a jab. A little further away it would have been plus. And I see you try to space it a little further away too. Pretty good corner pressure. This is nice. This will be bananas if you actually make this comeback. Okay, so with the life totals the way they are right now, your biggest comeback potential is super. So spending this bar kind of lowered your comeback potential by quite a bit. EX booms are amazing, but they're amazing in like neutral situations. When you have to make comebacks, you don't tend to make those comebacks in neutral. You tend to make those comebacks because of knockdown situations. Now, if we have super, our neutral is actually better because if they do a stomp, if they jump, we can flash kick into super and immediately win the round. But now it's a little trickier. Now we need something a little crazier to happen. See, EX stomp, maybe if we had super, flash kick super would be on the table, you know? Just little things like that. EX boom is so good in neutral, so bad at making comebacks because it takes away your super sometimes. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Game 2. Game 2. But yeah, you almost made that whole comeback just on the corner pressure. The corner pressure was like really nice right there.
Round 1. Fight.
And bap. Okay. Now, we talked about how Forward Fierce wasn't that good in this matchup, right? If Alex, there's a mind game that Alex can play where he starts slashing a lot. This is in an effort to absorb the boom you throw and get a hit on you, right? This is something that Alex players do. If that's a mind game that they represent a lot, Forward Fierce can totally screw him for doing that. See, and he's representing a lot, and I like that we immediately see your Forward Fierce. We also saw Forward Fierce a lot in the previous game when he wasn't representing this, so what I want you to take away from this is that Forward Fierce is very effective when they represent something like the Slap Chop. This is very similar to something that I've said about Forward Fierce in the Guile Zangief matchup. When Zangief wants to absorb your booms with Forward Fierce, with his Forward Fierce, you get to crush counter him. Instead of throwing, it's like, throw the boom, walk forward, and get that Forward Fierce, because he might headbutt it, right? It's very similar to that matchup. And it's a very similar mind game. Alex is slap chopping you to absorb booms and get a hit on you. Geef is forward headbutting booms to neutralize your boom game a bit. So it's a similar mind game. Alright, what happened here? It looks like crush counter sweep. Nice. Yeah, crush counter sweep. He's going to get Oki. You got out of that situation. So, something to keep in mind for future. By the way, we didn't get our key display up. When we see a whiff command grab, what the super ballers do is they immediately forward dash. Because that command grab is going to whiff for a day and a half. You can get forward dash, stand fierce, crowd, you know, it's just something you need to be ready for. If you're walking back, people tend to walk out of situations if they think they're going to get thrown and if they think they're going to have time to get out of that. So if you're walking back, be ready for throws to whiff. It's like when Guile walks back and I see a neutral throw, crouch strong boom V-trigger. That's a very common comeback. You know, you're shimmying, right? If you're walking back, you're shimmying. if you walk back, be ready to punish something. Because why are we walking back if not to make things whiff, right? In Arcade Edition, command grabs across the board are getting about 15 extra frames of recovery. Our dash forward tactic here that I'm talking about, we see a command grab whiff, we want to dash forward, it's going to be like twice as viable in Arcade Edition. So keep that in mind. I like that you got something though. I like that you did respond pretty immediately, right? You got that hit. I like the Sobots. Sobots are so good in neutral. So good in neutral. Yeah, we're playing a lot of neutral right now. And we're playing a lot of neutral because neither of us have down charge. Now he has down charge. So we should lock up too. Okay, he's moving, we can move. He crouches, we crouch. When I move, you move, just like that. There's a lot more neutral going on. This looks really nice from both players right now. Nice! So what you did was you broke the neutral. You're playing a lot of normals, Boom! Breaking the neutral. Stuff like that is so key. Because, you know, players get locked into rhythms a lot. That breaks that rhythm. That's why dash and throw is so good in Street Fighter V. We're breaking rhythms.
Fight.
A lot of good neutral. We're giving up on neutral. I said this the other day, and this is something that I'm sure not a lot of people are going to agree with. Grapplers are like the one archetype that deserve an anti-air jab. Because grapplers, big boy grapplers, Mika and Laura probably don't deserve an anti-air jab, right? Mika already has a nice crouch strong anyways. But big boy grapplers, Alex, Geef, Abigail, you know, Hugo back in the day, those are characters that kind of deserve an anti-air jab because the mid-range is inherently disadvantaged. When you're fighting against a grappler, you want to stay in the neutral. You want to stay in the mid-range. Jumping at a grappler is not something you should ever really be entitled to because neutral is inherently disadvantageous for the grappler. Stay in the neutral. It's where you should want to be. So jump-ins actually don't need to be good against grapplers. Jump-ins shouldn't be that threatening to grapplers because the mid-range is already threatening to grapplers. Think about that. You should want to be in the neutral. Alright, quick rising off of this situation, you would have not... Quick rise, and he would not have pressure on you. Let's check the stat on that. EX elbow. Let's see what EX elbow does for Alex. EX elbow, quick rise advantage 45. Holy moly, so he can dash. So what we need to do in training mode is we need to test, after getting hit by EX elbow, can Alex, like, dash twice? Well, he can dash twice and be plus, I think, in that situation. So these are things we want to test. What I'm mainly telling you when I pull out the frame data app is when we're testing if our opponent actually has Oki after a type of knockdown, we look at the move, we look at their quick rise, back rise advantage, meaning our quick rise, back rise when we get knocked down, and then we look at how many frames their forward dash takes. From the math, Alex's forward dash is 19 frames. He could dash twice and take up 38 frames, and he's plus, what did they say, 42? Plus 45 off of quick rise, plus 50 off of back rise. So I think Alex does get true Oki there. That's how we build matchups. Alright, after that, we return to neutral, we get jumped in on, that's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but there's not a lot to say about it. We know that booms, there's risk of getting jumped in on. That roundhouse is quite negative. Let's look at that roundhouse for a sec. Because that's a big old boot, right? So stand heavy kick, we look at stand heavy kick, -4 on block. So let's look at that heavy kick again. It's -4 on block. We need to decide. Was I in jab range after blocking this? I think so. This heavy kick really pushes straight into Guile. I think instead of crouch strong, crouch jab into EX boom. Would have been a really nice punish right there. make sure we want to be conscious that following booms up with forward fierce is still a tricky situation. And here's a detail I can give you about that. Back in Street Fighter 4, you throw a boom, your opponent blocks the boom, the pushback shoves them away from you. This incentivizes your opponent to walk forward. In Street Fighter 5, the pushback is almost negligible. They're not ultra incentivized to immediately walk forward after blocking a boom, because someone can block multiple booms and not get pushed back that far. So that's why boom into forward fierce is not as strong in this game, in my opinion. I think that's why it is. Okay, he's not moving, you're not moving. Okay, now he's moving, right? I want to really pinpoint. When he has charge, you need charge. That's how you stay in control of the matchup. It looks like that could have been a flash kick. That probably could have been a flash kick. Nice. Now we've got some pressure going for us. Nice. That was a... Okay, I think this is like a perfectly spaced bazooka-knee. Boom. That one was probably plus on block. I'll say that one was probably... That was plus on block. That shit right there was mega plus on block. This one, maybe you were even. This one was plus on block. And that's exactly why he got counter hit afterwards. Right? Very nice spacing on your bazooka knees. I can tell you're starting to get a much better sense of how to space them. And the really busted thing about bazooka knee is that when it whiffs, yes, we are, vulnerable for that period of whiffed time. But also, they're scared to press buttons, right? Because Guile's corner pressure is so good. That's why we can also continue our pressure afterwards. It's kind of busted that way. Very nice, very nice. So, yeah, there you go. You absolutely did play different in Game 2. What I saw a lot more of is less of, I need to keep Alex away, boom, 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 and more of, let's just play footsie neutral, right? When he has charge, I'll get charge, but when he doesn't have charge, let's play footsie neutral. That's a really good way to make an adjustment right there. Because that's oh, I press watch again. When we play like footsie neutral, we're challenging our opponent. We're asking them, are you good at this type of play, or do you actually need to return to, mind games, right? When we throw booms, we're establishing a mind game that they may or may not follow. Oh, I have a read on your boom, or this, that, or the other thing. But when we're playing like footsie neutral, you don't take guesses like that, It's different. It's more of an instinctual neutral. Alright, let's see what happened. Our predictions for... So we have a prediction. I think I tried playing that way the third game and failed. Let's see. Let's see.
Round 1. Fight.
Nice. This is all very nice so far. So I would say, once we had... When we have this much space, this is when we make a decision to boom or not, right? If we're going against someone who's like... I'm not going to say this Alex is jumpy, but the game can go to shit if he jumps, right? But once we're at this space, he's not really in jump arc, he doesn't have down charge. This is where we really make a decision to throw a boom or not. Because it would be really hard for him to punish it at that space. Now when we throw booms, we're throwing them more as if they're heavy normals rather than keep away tools. Something to pay attention to. Nice. Anti-air. Nice. This is all very good so far. Yeah, this is all super good so far. Where does it go to shit? Where does it go to shit? Okay. You got a little lucky there. Anti-air jab should have happened. I guess he really just wasn't ready. Oh, that's fine. It was okay, here's a funny thing about messing up flash kicks, right? Sometimes you get the most godlike jump back shorts, right? It's funny like that. So look, I was talking about EX Boom, how good it is in the neutral. Boom! This is one of the best knockdown situations that Guile ever gets. You're right in his face, it's meaty, boom, you're laying that stand strong on him, perfect. This is really nice pressure. Really nice pressure all around right now. Still Things haven't gone to crap. You got lucky again. Look at how good you're doing without jumping. Good, 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 good. We're not jumping and we're doing good. We're not jumping and we're doing good. We're not jumping. We're doing so good right now. Look at us not jump and do real... Why do we need it? Like, what do we need from this jump? We don't need anything. It's like... I don't like the term greedy when we're talking about competitive games. I don't like that term. But this is saying, hey, I'm doing super good. Why don't I deserve to get like a whole full-on jump in right here? You know? It can work out, absolutely, but we were kicking his ass in the neutral. Yeah, yeah, it's okay. I'm not... When I point these things out, I'm not, you know, getting the paddle out, right? You don't deserve a paddle in for jumping, right? I'm just pinpointing the fact that we were doing so good without the jump. We are doing so good without it. And remember, like I said before, I feel that grapplers deserve anti-air jabs because the neutral is inherently disadvantageous for them. And we are having a ball beating them up in the neutral. We don't need the jump. Other matchups, if we're going against a fireball character, jumps have to happen at some point. If Stanford Haley about to main Guile again, he's so good in this game, dude. If we're in a matchup where we're against a fireball, there's a direct mind game that needs jump representation. But when we're playing neutral, what incentivizes us to jump? The number one thing I can think about is if our opponent is really representing heavy normal after heavy normal. That's why when I say, when you throw a boom, really hold off on building the habit of throwing heavy normals after booms, because it's just as risky as 2 fireballs in a row, right? Fireballs incentivize jumping, heavy normals incentivize jumping. But when we're playing neutral like this, where it's a lot of mediums, jumping's really not required. Okay, we're at a good space to start zoning. It's okay that we didn't decide to do this, because look, yeah. See? It's a tough decision. But a little... If we get, like... Here's the deal. If we already had a boom on screen, right? If we successfully had a boom on screen at this spacing, we would be able to throw our next boom while he's blocking the previous boom, right? That means his jump-ins and his stomps aren't going to do anything. But that first boom we throw, that's the real risk. He was a little closer when he blocked that boom, so we didn't get our charge in time. But see, our first boom, before we establish a boom rhythm, that's the real risky boom. So when I say, oh, this is a good space for boom, I'm not saying that booms aren't high risk in that situation. They absolutely are. But at this space, this is when... Well, actually, this is the start of the round. It's funny that I'm saying this. This is the space where if we successfully get that boom on screen, we can start a boom rhythm. But because we didn't, we get jumped in on, right? Alright, let's see what happens. He actually didn't get a full combo. We got pretty lucky there. Boom, we gave up on neutral a bit. It worked out. We're back to neutral. We're giving up on neutral a bit more. What happened to all these godlike Sobots? That was a very deep heavy kick. You got your punish. Good job. You know about -4 heavy kick. Now what sucks about this is now we actually have a significant life deficit. Booms barely do any damage. It's really hard to be comfortable in this situation. We start to throw booms like crazy. When we're this far away, by the way, when we are this far away, if you get a boom on screen, you gotta follow it. If you get a V-skill on screen, follow it. I kind of wish you finished that V-skill right there. Instead of an EX boom, when they're that, like, EX boom is so good in the neutral. When we're this far away from our opponent, it's almost like we're not even in neutral anymore. Both players just need to make a decision of how do we reapproach each other. Guile in that situation can throw a slow boom and follow it and pretty much win. This is a boom you need to follow. This is a boom you need to follow. I mean, it's full screen stun gun. You know, these are things to look out for. But in terms of decisions that we can make depending on the space we are at, those should have been booms and V-skills that you followed. When we get a boom on screen that we can follow, we win the neutral. We've won the neutral, and it's mix-up time after that. And there are exceptions to that. There are moves that go through booms, there are supers that go through booms, there are exceptions to it, but we've won the neutral at that point. This is nice. This is looking a lot more like Game 2 right now. A lot more like Game 2. We gave up on neutral, and we're paying hard for it. This is happening because we gave up on neutral. This is his meaty timing. Remember, this meaty timing, it doesn't have to hit you. You can crouch block. If you see him dash, you jab. If you see him stomp, you flash kick. If we see anything else, we just block. That should have been a flash kick. That's fine. We're not too worried about that. We're not too worried about the specifics of it. When I say that something is fine, what I'm saying is that there's not a lot to say about it. If they jump and you failed to anti-air, there's not a huge speech that I can go into usually. It's just, hey, we're not going to worry about this. We'll do better next time. That's what I mean when I say that's fine. Corner pressure. What do you got? Nice. This is looking good so far. Nice, nice, nice. All right. So your prediction for Game 3 was that you thought that you tried playing that same way as Game 2, but failed. I would say that Game 3, we're going to watch this last game again, because this is the culmination of all the meta that we've developed, right?
Okay.
This is the culmination of all of the mind games that have happened so far, how we've been approaching the neutral. It's all going to come to a head in this game, right? So we're going to watch this one again. I'm probably not going to pause that much. This is looking like Game 2 to me. Because Game 2 was the game where we did really well. Game 2 was the game where we were like, I'm going to play neutral. He is a grappler. I am inherently advantaged in the neutral. So this is how we're going to play. This all looks like Game 2 to me. Neutral. Neutral. This is all very nice. This is bad. You didn't get punished for it, but remember, Game 3, we got punished for it. It could have happened here. Neutral. This is all looking great. And like I said, messing up flash kicks, sometimes you get some godlike jump back normals. This is all super good. This is high level stuff right here. You're pressuring when you have frame advantage. You're harassing him with bazooka knee and sobots. This, once again, it worked out, but it could have been the end of the round for you. Because when Alex gets anti-air jab, you're landing in SPD range. This is all super good. You're bodying the shit out of him, honestly. Boom, bodied. Bodied, bodied, bodied. But you gave him 2 chances. You could have given him 0 chances. So that's me being nitpicky. I think this is the round that doesn't look anything like the previous round. Now we're representing boom more. Immediately there's a void in the airspace where it's like, where are the sobots? Where are the normals? Now we're going to boom games. It's not a bad idea to be throwing booms. But sometimes we're at the space where booms are nice, but we don't throw them. And then, yeah, that's the one that doesn't work out. If we had stayed sobots, bazooka knees, normals, this mind game wouldn't be represented. His jump in would have almost no chance of working, right? It's just something to think about. Booms are amazing, but they are also our biggest way to get killed. When we're thinking about, oh, so do I just sobot all the time? That's not really what I'm saying. There's a difference between trying to play keep away with a boom and playing neutral with a boom. When you're playing neutral with a boom, it's when you're treating your boom like an 11 frame fierce move. So instead of a sobot, maybe we boom, right? But we're not playing keep away. I feel like there's this moment where we play keep away. Here, let me go back to the start of the round, because I feel like this is really key to understanding like what neutral is right now. Here we go. Already, it's like, where are the Sobots? What are we afraid of right now? Are we afraid of jumps? Why? Now we should be afraid of jumps if we're representing Boom a lot. So that should have there's a chance for that to end the round right there. He didn't get his combo. Now we're back to neutral. Where are the Sobots? It's like the meta has totally shifted in your head. No, Oscar Mike, we'll talk about that later. It's not about your Boom game not being good. Where are the Sobots? We were doing so good. We were bodying them with Sobots. But what I do like is that when he crouched, you crouched. So, like, we're making choices here, right? He has charge, I have charge. It's fine that we're not Sobotting right now. But representing Boom here is so scary. We're in jump arc range. We're in stomp range. Representing a Boom is really scary. But it looked like you were the one who cracked first. That jump, you know, that's the jump. We're giving him opportunities with these types of jumps. And I would say that this Alex is not even capitalizing on his anti-airs like better Alex's would. Better Alex's would mix you the hell up after getting those anti-air jabs. Where are the Sobots? Missing Sobots. And the way he gets in, this is the second time he's gotten in on you. The first one was a jump over a Boom. The second one was a stomp over V-skill. There's a lack of Sobots, and there's a newly presented opening for Alex. Getting over Booms and getting over your V-skills. Very nice. And this is when I was talking about, hey, when we have this much space between us and our opponent, especially after an EX Boom, when you throw an EX Boom and it hits them, you're gonna have charge. You can throw a Boom and follow it. Or you can, you know, dash up and pressure them. But when they're full screen, they get hit by an EX Boom, throw the slow Boom and follow it. This is prime time getting something slow on screen to follow it. That stun gun, I don't think he hit your recovery frames. Yeah, you were crouch blocking the whole time. I think you could have neutral jumped that. I would say that the really big, how should I say, the big shift in round 2 and why this went so terribly for you was because you didn't really play the same neutral that you were playing in previous rounds. I don't think that the Alex adapted in any sense. He adapted to the fact that you were throwing Booms. He represented jump more because you were representing Booms. But I think that it's like you adapted away from your game plan. Like, you got scared to do what was already working. I think that's what sums up round 2 a lot. Now we're back to normals. This looks a lot like game 2. This looks a lot more like you're playing neutral. And what you're representing right now is much harder to get jumped in on. It's a lot harder for Alex to jump in on this type of neutral. And and the life totals were basically even until you jumped. Now things are going to poop. Now we're back to neutral, but we have half the health we did before. Now we're back to neutral, but like he has this huge life lead. This is our comeback potential. This is our chance to make the comeback. And things are going fine. This corner pressure is fine. That stomp is unfortunate. And that's the end of the round. You didn't have enough time to make the comeback. So, I could talk for a day and a half about Boom games, so we're not going to talk about that right now. But just pay a good amount of attention to what was working and what wasn't. Sobots, Bazookanis, normals, those were working really well because grapplers are inherently disadvantaged in the neutral. Once you started throwing Booms, it gave Alex a 50-50 mind game. Either he's going to throw a Boom or he's going to not throw a Boom. Either I jump and immediately win the round, or he anti-airs me one time. It's really hard to play keep away with fireballs in this game. What fireballs are really good for in this game are I have basically an 11 frame heavy normal that can't be whiff punished, right? Unless you go through a Boom, right? Other than that, it's like a normal that ends footsies. It's like you press a fierce punch that has full screen range, right? It's like that. So the Booms that we were throwing were giving him opportunities to jump, but when we were playing neutral with just our mediums and such, he doesn't really have those opportunities. But it seems very doom and gloom for the Sonic Boom right now. Well, I'm Guile. Do I get to throw Sonic Booms? Absolutely. But there are specific spacings where we get to make that decision safely. But also, when we were throwing Booms in this matchup, we weren't using them as footsie tools. we were using them as like keep away tools, get off me tools. What's the difference? The booms that I consider like footsie booms are the ones that you do quite close to your opponent. They can't really react with things that go through booms. You treat them like heavy normals. You use them at the same range as heavy normals, right? Except there's those extra advantages. If we do get that space in between us, which that commonly happens because of EX booms that they get hit by, then we get to throw a very safe boom that we get to follow. If we do get a boom on screen and we are spaced out like that, and we know that we're going to get charged by the time they block the previous boom, that's when we get to play a keep away game. But what does that keep away game really do for us? Little bits of chip damage at a time. It's not really going to give us a lot. But what it does is it builds enough space to throw a slow boom that we can follow, right? If we're throwing those booms and we're just down backing and throwing booms at that rhythm, he can't jump on you because the block stun keeps him down, so he can't jump on you. You'll get flash kick in time is the big detail there. But what our opponent is going to react to, if they know their shit, they're going to eventually neutral jump that boom. That boom stays on screen. Our rhythm is disrupted because we can't throw another boom. They get to walk forward into jump arc range. That neutral jump is our opportunity. We can play that keep away. Okay, here's the deal. If we play an opponent who has no idea that he can neutral jump to disrupt that rhythm, we can play that keep away all day, right? Get charged while they're blocking, throw a new one. They can't jump because they're locked in block stun. We'll get flash kick in time if they jump. But if they know their shit, they're going to start neutral jumping. What do we do about that? It is read based, but instead of playing, back-to-back booms, follow the boom. If they neutral jump, we get an anti-air. If they stay where they're at, we get mix-ups on the ground, That's what, the boom game is so different in Street Fighter V than it was in older games. So try to think about that. Don't think of boom as a keep away tool. Think about it as either an 11 frame fierce that has a lot of added benefits, or if we start to play keep away, get out of that habit. When it starts to feel like we're playing keep away, throw a boom that we can follow. If we're throwing booms and we're not getting charged by the time they block it, then they aren't really keep away booms. They're more like footsie booms. But there's this middle ground, right? There's the space where you get charged by the time they block the boom. Then there's a little bit closer. They're in jump arc range. The boom takes more time to reach them. They're not really footsie booms at that space, and they present every risk to getting jumped in on and dying. It's a very delicate game. But that's all stuff that you're going to be working on for until the end of time. It's stuff that I'm still working on. The biggest thing to take away from these three rematches, or these three replays that we just watched, is that you played really good neutral with Sobots, mediums, Bazooka-Knee, and you were creaming him, right? What made his comebacks? You throwing booms at difficult spaces to throw booms, you jumping at him, giving him mix-up potential, right? That's what you should take away from that. And I just talked for about, 10 years about all that. So this will be up on YouTube later. And that's all I got to say about these replays.